Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm audible and visible. Yes. Okay. So we'll wait 2-3 minutes. Uh, then we'll start our discussion for today. I'm good. How has everybody been throughout the week? Have you revised ancient medieval better? Great. Perfect. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Revising it, sir. Revision is becoming easy. That is the point, Shamishta. The more you will revise, the more often you will revise, the easier it will become over a period of time. That is standard for all subjects, not just for history, but for all subjects generally. Lakshan, thank you for that. Start. Yes, mind map should help. Yes. Today we will discuss. Today is a very interesting day for us generally. We'll be starting our discussion with stupa. Once we're done with stupa, we will move towards caves, then temple architecture, and I think we should be able to reach till Delhi Sultanate, then Mughal, and then modern. This is basically this theme, art and architecture. We should be able to cover easily these three. If needed, Mughal we will take up for tomorrow. Will you be taking evening batch world history? Yes. From Monday, which is 18th of September, world history evening batches with me. So Chetan sir would have finished his classes yesterday, and from now I'll take forward 10 classes, 10 modules: French Revolution, American Revolution, unification of Germany, Italy, Industrial Revolution, First World War, Second World War, Cold War politics, colonization, decolonization. 10 modules are there. We'll talk about that on Monday. Evening batch, I'll start world history. Doesn't really matter the batch with you also. I only teach world history. It's only modern which is shared. Other than that, everything else I will take, which is world history, evening, morning, or weekend. I think weekend will come late in the year. Late in the year. Upcoming modern, yes, Anu, I think upcoming modern, which is in November, should be with me, which is the weekend batch. Which should be weekend batch. I'm not sure about that, but weekend, yes. Next batch of modern history is with me only, yes. And giving it a minute, I'm looking for the requisite number. Then I start with our discussion. Generally, I hope what we discussed the last time, which is the concept of Mauryan pillars and the base of the what we call as, see, Takdis, I have no idea about batches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will be in weekend. You need to figure that out how. So these small details I don't know. As of right now, I don't know. When I'll start, I will know which batches it is. Okay. So I'm waiting 1 more minute. Then we start. Art, architecture, ancient, medieval. We have to start with stupa. We reached pillars last time. Good afternoon. Yeah, that question is from modern India, but I'll answer it, though it's not the place to. Why imperialism etc. started in 1712 onwards? If we see, British started getting concessions from 1613 only. Why are you giving me that cutoff date of 1712? Who told you 1712? What is the significance of this? If you wrote 1717, I would have understood. No issues, Ajay. Totally independent of each other. 1700 onwards. Now you've changed your understanding. 1700 onwards. So Neha's question is that why do we say that imperialism started from 1700 onwards? If we see imperialism, this is basically world history. Imperialism is a very old concept. Even Romans and Greeks used to do it. With the context of Indian subcontinent, 1613 getting a concession is not imperialism. Imperialism is when you start to effect trade. And the year 1700, still you are incorrect in saying that. The date which you should be looking for is 1651, 1632, which is once they start to effect the trade itself. But 1757 and 1765 is considered very important because that is the moment in which they turn from a mercantilist power into a territorial power. And as soon as they become a territorial power, the first stage of colonialism is imperialism. It's a little bit complicated than you're asking. It's not that straightforward. But imperialism is when you start to dominate trade through your policies. For that, you have to control certain territory. That is why it should not be this date. It should either be 1717 or 1757 or 1765. 18th century, that is why it's called the era of imperialism in India. Imperialism as a concept is nothing new. It was very old. Colonialism is something which has a cutoff date of 1492 with the discovery. Everything, this all we will, Monday first thing we'll discuss all this only. Okay, so can we start our discussion? Super. People are still joining in for some reason quite late. As always, we will go from 12 to 3, then 3 to 3:40 is the break, then 3:40 to 5:40, and then 6 to 8 p.m. This is part A, this is part B, this is part C. 30 minutes, rather not 30 minutes, 20 minutes break here and 40 minutes break here. Effectively, I give you more than that vis-a-vis 10 minutes, 15 minutes here and there. We'll figure that out as we go on. So, can we start a discussion for Stupa? Yes? Anybody totally new here has no idea about nothing, first class attending with me? Ancient medieval, if you've done, separate issue altogether. Art and culture, or you're seeing me for the first time? Anybody like that? Never seen me. Don't even know my name. First on art and culture. That doesn't matter. Ancient medieval, if it is done, I presume things. That's the point of doing ancient medieval. Ajay, ancient medieval done with me? Ancient done, then medieval not done. Very good. Okay. So, let's start our discussion with regards to stupas. If you remember the discussion we were having on last Sunday, which was last 15-20 minutes, was basically related to the concept of purpose. What is the purpose of a stupa and what is a stupa in that regard? Basically, 5 points were made very simply. Firstly, that the concept of stupa comes from a burial mound, and burial mounds are nothing new in Indian culture, and the concept comes from Vedic period, is also in Jainism. So very simply, the concept of representing a person through a burial mound is not something new. The concept is not unique. However, what is unique is the application, the implementation. What I mean by that is that they do it in a certain way. Therefore, there's a certain structure which is there. So their monument in that regard is unique. We'll discuss that. How is it unique? But the simple point is, it is a burial mound representing the mount of Buddha. And therein comes the concept that once Buddha died, He had multiple relics, things which he had used in his life. And therefore, the first purpose of stupa is very straightforward, which is what we call as a burial pilgrimage site. And when we talk about burial pilgrimage site, the purpose totally deals with the concept of remembering Buddha. Anybody has any issue till this point? Anybody has any issue till this point? No? Very good. The GS paper 1 is out. Can I discuss GS paper 1 with you? I just got a message. Okay. GS paper 1, first question. Pay attention. Just digressing for one moment, important. Explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. This is a very interesting question. It's asking about geographical factors in development of ancient India. Can anybody give me an idea what this question is asking about? Off the top of your head, use your ancient knowledge and tell me how does geographical factor affect the development of, or location affect the development of ancient India. Can anybody please tell me? Very, very easy question. UPSC has given a bouncer this time. They've played a basic purpose by basically pushing a certain type of ancient knowledge into mains. This is why you do ancient India. Okay. If I tell you, for example, very good, Ajay, rivers during the Neolithic or the Paleolithic period. Very good. What if I tell you to be more specific? To be more specific, what was the advantage with Magad had? What was the advantage with Magad had? Very good, Samishta. Very beautiful answer. Great. Perfect. Very proud. By just saying these things, you are making me proud that, okay, you can apply your knowledge. Very good. Okay. The location of Magad was very, very important. So its development was in a way intricately linked to what? Its location. Then Samishta said trade routes. Uttar Path, Dakshin Path. Availability of iron. Very good. Now tell me one more thing. Tell me one more thing. Did the geography of the Hindu Kush sector and Chinese sector dictate how the Kushanas, Shakas, and Indo-Greeks entered India? Yes or no? Simple. This question is 150 words. 150 words. If you can give an example of Magad, if you can give an example of, for example, Indus always being a cutoff point, if you can talk about Alexander, if you can talk about n number of examples, where the Yuchi tribe were, why did the Shakas come to India, how did the Indo-Greeks come into India, further, the location of the what we call as Raichur, the conflict between Pallavas and the Chalukyas. If you look at it, Sangam, very good point. How Sangam age or megalithic, there's a movement away from straight away Neolithic into megalithic, which is straight from stone to iron. If you look at it, prima facie, I am also seeing this paper for the first time. This question, can it be managed by the PPTs which were given to you in ancient, which was totally prelims perspective? If you do understand the question, there are no mention any special things, only ancient. How can I understand what to write? This is a very good point. Like this, it says the question is categorically saying explain the role of geographical factors towards development of ancient India. Development of ancient India, geographical factors. Every time, yeah, if you actually look at it, you first thing which I taught you, why do we have hair on our body? Why do we have hair on our body? we had here because Pleistocene era, very, very cold. Isn't that a geographical factor? If you look at it, every time when I taught you any point, I always talked about environment, geography getting linked up to the polity itself. Can we say that Sakar tribe established West instead? No, Avni, the way you will say it, because the Indo-Greeks were in the north. They had to come around from Iran and go into the Deccan sector. So in a way, the location of the Shakas was dictated by the locations of the Indo-Greeks. See, understand this point very straightforward. In this type of question, there is no right and wrong answer. It's about how good, yes, IVC, how they were very close to the rivers. The simple point of the matter is nobody is going to write the same answer. The people who would have left ancient India listening to certain people will get stumped and lose 10 marks straight. We are looking at it at this time. We are brainstorming. Over a period of time, people will develop standard answers. What I am asking you is, if I give you time, if I give you a moment to understand, and if you've done art and culture, ancient, medieval, you can manage this question, right? Every Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Vedic, Indus Valley, Mahajanpada location. Why was Indus Valley? Why was Indus Valley civilization in the northwestern sector and not in the Doab sector? Why? Why? Because of the absence of iron and the location of the forests in the Doab sector. Geography is everything, right? Everything is related to the geography of things. Understand this point. You don't have to go into society, religion. No, no, no. You have to just tell them how certain geographical factors affected the power of Magad, the power of the different dynasties, the location of certain dynasties. Why was there a perpetual war between the Pallavas and Chalukyas? It was because of the Raichur Duab. That is again geography. So very straightforward. Devi, you will get this PDF within 10 to 15 minutes in all platforms. I'm just doing this because I want to go back to Stupa. I asked you, can we discuss? It will be available everywhere. Don't worry about that. Simple point is, explain the role of geographical factor towards the development of ancient India. 10 mark question, 150 words. Something very new? Something very, very new? No. Perfect. Okay. Now, straight question out of my article, which I give if you've done Modern India with me. Bring out the socio-economic effects of the introduction of railways in different countries of the world. This question is basically geography question. Geography, history question mix. But if you've read my article, which I will give you when I do Modern India, you will realize it directly answers this question. That what is the socio-economic effect of railways? In colonial India, what is the economic impact of railways? Come on, tell me. What is the economic impact of railways? Drain of wealth. Drain of wealth. The more it expanded, the more the drain was. One question is tricky, which is the second question itself. We'll talk about it. What is the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore in their approach towards education and nationalism? This question is philosophy plus history both. So we do mod Gandhi, but Rabindranath Tagore you need to pick up from philosophy. This is a difficult question. So one question railways, one question Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore, one question geographical factors. Then you have geography, society. Okay. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features still prevail in Indian society? 250 marks question. Come on. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? 4 for Varna structure, patriarchy, women's domination, complex society, agriculture, the social discrimination, social exclusion. This time they've actually given ancient questions in GS paper 1. Okay. This is GS paper 1, right? Because there's that question on Delhi Saltanat also now. What were the major technological changes introduced during Sultanate period? How did those technologies change, influence on Indian society? What were the two technologies which Delhi Sultanate introduced in India? Canon is not Delhi Sultanate. Two sectors I discussed with you very categorically and how it impacted society. Can anybody tell me two sectors developed by Delhi Sultanate which had an impact on Indian society? We discussed it. Very good. Ashwin, architecture. And the second one is what? Second one. Second one, not roads. Architecture, road, same thing. Do you remember textile? Woven cloth market. Alauddin Khilji even had a cloth market. And how it allowed for upward mobility. You have to revise. But did we have a discussion on society? How there was upward mobility of the 4 Varna structure, the lower caste, because of the development of two major technologies? Did we discuss this? Yes or no? Now there's a very simple question again. How did the colonial rule affect the tribals in India? And what was the tribal response to colonial oppression? Can you write this? Tribals and tribal revolts and modern India? Again easy. Last. Discuss impact of post-liberty communism. No, nothing more. So there is no question from, only two questions from modern India. So UPSC's again played a game here properly. Yeah. 3 questions from ancient medieval art and culture, 2 questions from modern India. So now UPSC's made it a point to basically, so if somebody is sitting in the examination right now, he has 3 questions in front of him right now. 3 questions in front of him, out of which one is geography and ancient India. Second is the concept of Delhi Sultanate. And then 2 questions out of modern India, which is one would be railways, then Gandhi and Tagore, and last but not the least, the concept of, yes, technology, Tagore, Gandhi, and tribals. 5 questions in front of him. They've actually art and culture, they've played a game. These 2 questions are never expected. As I can see the paper, if you'll Google GS paper 2, everybody would have got it by this point of time. But I've got it from our own group itself. Geographical factor, yes. Gandhi, Tagore, railways. One question on food security, then freshwater resources, then Freud's, then Southwest monsoon, one on marriage, one on suicide, one very weird question, child cuddling. Listen to the wording. Child cuddling is now being replaced by mobile phones. Discuss the impact of socialization on children. This time UPSC has not found a good examiner to write the questions. Okay. Oh yes, one more question. Vedic. Then we have a major Sultanate period, tribals, coastline, diversity in natural vegetation, human resources, human development, food importers, urbanization, communalism, caste identity. Basically, the questions out of history are easy if you know history as a whole. So very simple point. I'll come back to more. This is a good, important discussion that way. That is why I'm having this discussion with you. Out of the 6 questions, basically there are 4 plus 2, 3 and 3. 3 questions out of ancient medieval art and culture, 3 questions out of modern India. Very simply, out of all these questions, 5 can be managed very easily. 5 can be managed very easily, which is you can do Vedic if you've gone through my classes or if you've been sincere. You can do Delhi Sultanate, 150 word question. You can do geography and ancient India. You can do tribals. And if you've categorically read the article which I told you, which is railways, then easily you can get it. Geography questions are standard. The only difficult question is, and if you know how to make stories and give a little bit of vague answer, you can answer this also, Gandhi and Tagore. Basic fundamental differences on education, how they wanted to look at it. He wanted more of what we call as sustainable, khadi based ashram education. He is more Gurukul type. We'll talk about that when we'll talk about in modern. Modern, we have to now be a little bit more conscious of these thinkers now. So I didn't set the paper, all random. There is no question out of art and culture. Very simply, there is no question out of art and culture. Now you tell me, what should I do? There's no question out of art and culture. These 3 questions are not art and culture. These are basically ancient and medieval. So UPSC has now made it a point that they're now starting to ask ancient medieval also in then art and culture. It will come back, obviously. Last time there were 3 questions out of art and culture. This time they tried to shift, so they went to for 3 here. His modern is standard 3. So Chinmay is saying, seeing these questions to answer, these are piece of cake, but how to tackle prelims? I'm glad that you can say that. See, when you will go outside, today you will find a lot of hate for UPSC, and they will say, how can you ask ancient and medieval in GS paper 1? UPSC can say something and they can do anything. That's a separate issue altogether. The people who left ancient medieval in over smartness, my prayers are with them. Other than that, now we have to make sure, I made sure, now you also have to make sure that your conceptual clarity in ancient and medieval is equally high. I think we can do that at least for sure, right? That we can keep our conceptual clarity high, because any of these 3 questions can be done through conceptual clarity. So if we all agree to this, that the paper which came today would not have stumped you, and that is what I am here for, then we'll talk about everything else. My friend left ancient medieval but qualified prelims. Now God may help him. Well, our prayers are with him, Subhash. Okay. So very simply, can we all come back? If you want to comment something, I'll be happy to push it to the screen, whatever your comment, it may be. So the Vedic age question, should we dissect early Vedic? No, Samishta. If it is saying Vedic, don't make it complicated for you. When you dissect, then you start to use more words. So rather from early Vedic, talk about Agni, Varun, and the concept of naturalism. From later Vedic, talk about the concept of all social evils, agriculture, patriarchy, women's domination. Because early Vedic things don't persist today, except for our reverence towards God in the form of nature. So, see, the point is, you have the skill set, you have the questions also. It's just that you have to make sure, that you very simply use that knowledge in the right way. And the takeaway should not be, no, I will not do art and culture now, or art and culture will not be important, because last year it was 3 art and culture. So very simply, now it has become something like a playground. So they are playing with it. So modern, they are giving 3 questions. World history last year was 1 question. Post independence last year was 1 question. So last year it was art and culture, modern, world history, PI. This time it is ancient and medieval and modern. Next time they can mix it up. Basically, if you have conceptual clarity, you are with me throughout the year. I don't think you should not be able to manage any question. And literally, the railways question is tricky, is actually tricky. Anybody who was there with me in modern India previously and has read the railways article by mistake, because you will not read it, I know, but by mistake or by curiosity, did you read that article? Subhash, okay. Subhash, tell me, was there a comparative analysis of China and India in that article in the end, or did it talk about socio-economic impact? Yes or no? You tell me. So I'm not making this up. I'll push it to everyone. Very simply, somehow, this clicked this time. So 2 articles I share with you when I do modern India with you. One is railway and the other one is police. And somehow this time railway clicked quite well. So if we all are at consensus and you, in a way, if you did not trust me, now you trust me. Can we talk about stupas? And now do you get the point of discussions which we are doing? Right? What is the purpose of these discussions? See, Hardeep, that is an overreaction. Can you give us mains questions from ancient and medieval? Don't worry. By the time we come to it, don't have to now hurry and open mains questions. The questions are asked in a certain generic way. Before we leave for art and culture, I will give you a certain understanding of how to tackle these type of questions. Don't worry. Sushmit, that cannot be done because those are published articles and that cannot be integrated. Though you get PDFs, both PDFs are given to you. Don't worry about that. Okay. Can we now go back to stupas if everybody's settled down? Everybody's here. Purpose is not to, yes. Well, Subhash, I'll leave it to the people. Yes. So he said it, I have not said it. Whatever I do it for a reason. That's the basic point. Moral of the story is this only. That conceptual clarity plus facts. Now one thing is clear, UPSC has stopped caring about facts. It's now become more and more conceptual, and by this evening, I believe I will get messages from my students who are writing mains that if they had paid attention, if they had found it interesting, this is going to be make and break this time. Who will be able to manage Delhi Sultanate? Who will be able to manage this question and this question? Basically, 30 to 45 marks are there in the questions which I've shown you. And in UPSC, 1 to 2 marks, your rank changes from second to first and from 100 to fifth. So it's basically quite a lot of marks in that regard. Okay. So my biggest request, if you're watching this video later also, if you're with me live right now, please don't listen to the standard pundits, whatever they are, whoever they are, however big they are. Leaving history is now suicidal, has always been suicidal, but now this is the question, this is the basic answer in front of you. Geography, by God's grace, was easy, and I think Mukesh sir will also go through it once he is in class with you, and he'll be happy to discuss what the paper was. But this is the prima facie. I just got a message at just 15 minutes before, and I've discussed it with you. Let's go back to Stupa. Anybody had any issue in these points? Anybody had any issue in these points? No? How to clear prelims? Discipline. Tell you that. Don't worry. We'll discuss that. Prelims is a different cup of tea. Anybody has any issue here? Still a lot of you are silent, have to say something. Kaju, firstly, don't write it in the doubt section. Send it to me in the chat. Where can I get the question paper? You will get it. Google it. GS paper 1. Everybody would have to put a PDF. And Kaju, for the past 15 to 20 minutes, I've been explain the role of geographical factors for development of ancient India. How to answer this question? Either you joined right now or you were not paying attention. Either way, we've discussed this. Okay. Now, the second purpose, which was much more important to us, and very simply is quite important, is the reason. What was the second reason I gave you? What is the purpose of the stupa? Second purpose of the stupa. Very good. Advertisement or propagation. Which is that, if you remember, I told you a point that most of the stupas, if not all, 90% of them are on trade routes. Very accessible, very straightforward, and very beautifully carved. Unlike Puranic Hinduistic or Hindu temples, which were mostly built in very obscure sections, and there was a certain part of reaching there which was part of your devotion and faith, stupas were placed very strategically. And the strategic location of these stupas, therefore, created a question that were they strategically placed for a reason? And the reason was yes. The reason is yes. Why? Because they needed to be placed in certain sections where there was a merchant community, and within merchant communities, Buddhism was very, very popular. And therefore, it stood as an advertisement that if you don't know about Buddha, here is Buddha for you. And therefore, very simply, understand his story. And that is why the railings and the entry gate of a stupa always had Jatak stories or the stories of Buddha generally. And therefore, the first part of the discussion of the stupa is, what is the stupa? The concept. This came in 2023. In 2023 prelims paper, there was a second question itself was on stupa. And they have previously asked a mains question from this section, that did stupas had a role other than just being pilgrimage sites? That is the second part. First part, they've this time asked that, is the stupa concept original to Buddhism? No. Implementation is. Second, do all stupas have relic? Technically, no, but symbolically, yes. It's a generic statement, yes. And third, what is the purpose of stupa was again given as the third statement there. So, what the point of the matter is, stupa are not innocent institutions or innocent monuments. They are placed in a very strategic way, and they have a very specific purpose, via propagation, via advertisement, and the original purpose being a pilgrimage site for Buddhists. If we understand the purpose and the concept, then you need to have a pen and paper ready with you, because we need to know the different components, structure, and you need to be able to very simply draw a stupa in the examination. What is a relic? A relic is anything which Buddha used, which is, if I use this, I've touched it, it's a relic. Relics are things which Buddha used himself. What is the difference between stupa and temple? Ishwak, I have not taught you temple, but temples are Hindu institutions. These are Buddhist institutions. This is a stupa. Tell me, where does it look like a temple? Temples are proper Hinduistic temples. They have a different structure. By the end of this class, you will have an answer for this. You have to wait for that. Now, are we clear with regards to purpose and concept? If we are, then I will move on. Right? Yes, no? Okay. So now we understand the purpose, we understand the concept, and we know that why did they make it. Now, very simply, let's talk about the structure. of a stupa. Keep a pen and paper handy. I'll be asking you to make it within the next 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. I have a diagram here out of Upinder Singh, but it's complicated. So I'll make it in front of you in 2 to 3 ways, and I'll tell you how to make it in the examination. So the first component of a stupa is its entry gate, the most important part of it. And very simply, this is a word which we still use in Hinduism and Buddhism till today. And this is called a torana. It's called Toran or Torana. Toran, if there will be any time a puja in your house, the Pandit will give you a long string with mango leaves on it. That is called Toran. It's an auspicious thing to be put at the entry gate. This word was actually picked up from in Hinduism from Buddhism itself. Now, mostly the stories, the concept of Buddhism was always given on this Toran. Because before you enter, you used to look at it. Just to show you a Toran, this is a Toran. And it had very intricate designs. Just to show you that also. They had designs like this on them. Whole Jatak stories were made on Torans. Torans are the most important component of the stupa because they are the way a person enters into the complex itself. The next important part is, and it's not necessary that it will always be there, but in all major stupas it is, which is it has a railing or a boundary wall around it. And mostly the stories which started to be written on the what we call as Toran were continued on the railing itself, which is that very simply there is a certain type of story which this whole structure is trying to tell you, and that is the purpose of its railing or boundary wall as we call it. There's a very common name which we use today, which is Suchi. Became very popular because of the uh, Amazon Prime uh, series Family Guy. The name of the Manoj Bajpayee's wife is Suchi. This is called Suchi. Suchi word comes from here only. Suchi word is used for the railing, but we don't have to learn it. Separate issue altogether. Now, the things which I'm marking only need to be learned. Thereafter, the most important, the base of the stupa, the base of the stupa. This is called Medhi. This is like a base on which it is made. Then you have the Anda, very easy to remember. It's called the Anda. This is a solid, non-hollow hemisphere. This is the platform or base. This is the gateway. Thereafter, you have what is called the Harmika. This is called the Harmika. Harmika is the box-like structure. The relic of Buddha could be inside the Harmika or could be inside the Anda. That varies. There's no categorization about that, but could be in different locations. Then, so that people can see a stupa from far away, there is something called a yashti. Yashti. Yash. Yashti. Yashti. It's a shaft, and then on it you have not clear. Then you on it you have what are called chhatras. Chhatras. Now, this is the basic structure, but somehow you have to go up, and there is a path which goes around this. This is called Pardakshin Patha, which is that we do parikrama around our temples? Yes or no? Do we do parikramas around our temples? Yes or no? Yes. This is Pardakshin Path. You do parikrama around the anda on it, and there are stairs to go up to it, and now your structure of stupa is done. Torana, Pardakshin Path, Medhi, Anda, Harmika, Yashti, and Chhatra. To give you a more better perspective about the Yashti and Chhatra, this is the Chhatra, this is the Yashti. Clear, everybody? Within Anda, is it empty or full? Sridevi, it says solid, non-hollow. Ajay, it says solid, non-hollow, which means that you cannot go inside. It is a solid structure. You can't go inside the anda. See, try to understand it. Torana, Medhi, Anda, Harmika, Chhatra. Chhatra could be 1 or 3. Yashti. If there was a boundary wall around it which has been destroyed, but you can see it still exists. It's a boundary wall. And this is the Pardakshin Patan on which you can go around. Where are the relics kept? Relics could be within the anda also, within the Harmika also. Could be either way. Chhatra Yashti purpose to give height. To give height. When you look at the proper, this is Sachi Stupa, most celebrated stupa in India. You have Torana. See, it says Suchi. Suchi is the railing. Then you have the Medhi on which it has been made. Medhi. Then thereafter you have the Pardakshin Path around which you can go around. Then you have the Harmika, Yashti and Chhatra along with the Anda. So very simply, these are the basic components of a stupa. To give you a much more intricate perspective, this is a top-down angle. See, this is the Yashti, this is the Harmika, this is the Anda, Medhi is the base. This is where you go around. This is where you go around. This is the Pardakshin Path. Sopana is the stairs. We don't care about that. Too many terms I don't want you to learn. And thereafter, Toran could be on all 4 sides, could be on one side. There's no set rule about it. It's about how much money did they have. So, Anda, Medhi, Suchi, Torana, Harmika, Yashti, Chhatra, and the very simply Pardakshin Path, Torna. So I'll add Suchi also here so that you remember it. If you can learn 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to make this also. I'll tell you how to make it. 6, 7, 8. 8 components are there. Is this making sense to everyone? What is the structure of a stupa? Making sense? Yes, no, I have to say something. Then I tell you how to make it in the examination. This is too slow to be made in the examination. Yes? Why they chose Anda structure? Can anybody tell? Who asked me this question? Ashwin. Why did they have an anda structure? What does the anda represent? What does the anda represent? Ashwin asked. No, it's not same material. No. If I bury a person, this is the mount which is made. So yes, Aman, very good. It represents the burial mount. That is why they use the anda. Burial mount is symbolically represented. Anda represents burial. Very good. Perfect. Now, Pardakshin Path, Suchi, Torna, Yashthi, Harmika, Anda, Medhi, Chatra. Anybody has any issue in this? If no, then I'll tell you how to make it in the examination. No issues? Great. Can you now? You can now. I was stuck, I think, for 5-6 seconds. Was I? Okay. Now I'm fine. I'm fine, right? I have a preview in front of me. I should be fine. Okay. Let me see. ठीक है. Okay. So, stupa consists of cylindrical dome, anda, hemispherical mount, symbolic of the dirt of mount on Buddha's body itself, harmika, square railing on the top of the mount, chatra, supporting structure of the triple umbrella structure, medhi is the base, pardakshin path is how you go around, toran is the gateway. Now, this is too hard to be made for the examination. So how do you make it in the exam in a more quick way and easy way? So let's do it. Now pay attention how I'm making it. In the examination, this will fetch you little bit more marks. Important. Okay. See, make a hashtag. You can do that. Then connect the hashtag like this. Very simply, make a square, make a rectangle, make the anda, make a box, and your stupa is done. Now it will may take you more time to actually mark it. Torana, Suchi, Medhi, Anda, and you can do this if you have time. Harmika, Yashthi, Chatra. You can do something like this and write Par Dakshin Patha. And your work is done. I'll make it again. Very simple. Hashtag, link it. This, 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 this. If you can do it, your work is done. Now make it and tell me. I'm keeping it on the screen for 1 second. Make it and say yes. Mark it also. Should be done within 30 seconds. Come on. Make it. Say yes. 5 to 6 seconds. Maximum it will take you 1 second to write Pardakshin Path only. That is the biggest word which you have to write. Other than that, it should not be an issue. Very simple, straightforward. If you're still struggling, hashtag, link it, do it, this, that, and done. 30 seconds it will take you. Again, hashtag, link it, do it. Stupa is more similar to Hindu structures. Ashwin, the timelines are different. When stupa is there, Vedic Brahmanism is there, and Hinduism, as we call it, is not there. Early Hinduistic practices are there. There is nothing like that. And temples are very different to this. There's no connection between the two. Circular is not circular. Circle is not circular. What do you mean by that? So, Torana can be oval, Torana can be anything you want. Torana has to be circular. I am not going to now take a compass and make it. So, it doesn't really matter to me. So, Suchi Medhi Anda Par Dakshin Patha Harmika Yashti Chhatra. Sir, can we draw with pen in the examination? Yes, Kaju, there is no issue in, because you don't have time to do change the pen and pencil within seven minutes. You can't do that. Make with pen, not an issue. So, if there's a question on the structure of stupa, are we all in a position to make it, draw it, mark it, and explain it? Yes or no? That's not an issue, Tagdish. Wherever you want to make it on the right hand side, that's the main thing. Yes, done. So can we now, can I show you something very interesting about the stupas? This is okay. This is the Indian version of stupa. Now, if you go to Indonesia, if you go to, for example, Thailand, if you go to Jakarta, if you go to that whole sector, Southeast Asia, you will see something like this. Have you seen these type of images? Ever? This is also a stupa. But this is very simply Southeast Asian version of stupa. And for the people who love to go inside things, they have an entry gate. Very simply, this, in this structure, you can go inside. You can go inside. So the way they make it is quite different. If you look at it, our stupa is the original stupa, original form of stupa. This is original Indian version. And very simply, in this, they can just go up the stairs. You can go around it. This is a hollow structure, whilst this is a solid structure. But there is one more version of a stupa. And for the people who would have watched Sinchan all their life, they would know, they would have seen something like this. Have you seen this in Japanese cartoons? Doraemon, Sinchan? This is the Japanese version of stupa. Again, can go inside it. So we have 3 versions of stupas also. But in India, it was always this structure, the original structure. However, as Buddhism spread to other places, it's not, you should not be able to make the other stupas. You should only know how to make this. I'm just trying to tell you how there is variation across the world when it comes to stupas itself. This is also a stupa, this is also a stupa, this is also a stupa. So the question, if stupas are always solid, Dheeraj, the answer is yes. Yes, are always solid. Now what you are doing is called overthinking. I'm saying it's the Japanese version and it's the Southeast Asian version. And in the examination, Union Public Service Commission is in India or in Japan or in Southeast Asia. It is in India. Until and unless not specified, don't complicate it. And nobody is going to ask you about a Japanese stupa. So that question shows overthinking. You're trying to go beyond overcomplication. In India, all stupas were in a way, always straightforward, solid. And for the purpose of the examination, all of them have relics, though that is technically not true. That's between you and me. So I started with three questions: purpose, structure, components. Are we clear with regards to all three? Are we clear with regards to all three? Purpose, structure, component of the stupas. Yes? Purpose, advertisement, pilgrimage. Structure is in front of you. As I said, it's a very, very straightforward thing. Torana, Suchi, you can't say it. Red I have to use. Torana, Suchi, Medhi, Anda, Harmika, Yashti, Chhatra, Pardakshin Patha, and that's it. Medhi is this base. Medhi is this. Medhi is this. This whole thing is Medhi. This is Medhi. Anda, Harmika, Chhatra, Torna. There used to be a Suchi here. There isn't. Suchi on Medhi. No. Suchi is this. This is Suchi. Medhi is this structure which you see here. It's not that hard. The way you're making it so hard. Clear? What did I say? I asked you three things. Anybody has any issue? Three things: component, structure, purpose. Have to say something. Yes or no? Pilgrimage and advertisement. Okay. Relic answer should be yes in the examination. Yes, 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 yes. And components we know. Okay, perfect. So now I'm moving to the other part, which is that we have discussed stupa. Now, important stupas in India. Important stupas in India. How to frame answer for structure of stupa. Kaju, in what sense are you saying? Are you fundamentally asking me how to write an answer? Or if I'm not given you question, how do you structure a stupa? They will ask you, describe the salient features of stupas in India. Discuss the various components of stupa in India. So in the introduction, you will have to write the purpose of the stupa. In the body, you would have to describe the structure and give them a diagram. And thereafter, conclusion, talk about the importance of it. Or talk about the important stupas in India. There's a fundamental difference in answering this question. Either you want me to tell you how to write an answer, or you want to know what type of question can come. What is the question? Be more specific. Okay. So, what are the important stupa structures in India? This list is more than enough to answer any question. The most important, the most celebrated, Sachi Stupa, MP Sachi, one of the most important site, because it was developed by Ashoka himself, and later Shungas would reconstruct it. The Sachi Stupa is the best specimen of a stupa. Suchi, Torana, Medhi, Pardakshinpat, Anda, Harmika, Chhatra, Yashti. And when it came to Toranas, there could be one Toran, there could be four Toran in all directions. That doesn't really matter. There's no set plan with regards to that. But the simple point is, if somebody asks you which is the best example of a stupa, then it is Sachi Stupa. Now comes the first exception. Now comes the first exception. Can anybody tell me what is different about the Sarnath Stupa or the Dhamek Stupa? What is different? No Toran, okay. Other than that, you all are stuck at Toran. By looking at it, what is the first thing which you notice which is different? The anda is hemispherical. The anda is or should have been hemispherical, but it is cylindrical. It's a cylinder. So again started by Ashoka, in the end was finished by in the Gupta period, has a relic of Buddha inside it. But the most important, stupa is a solid cylinder. This is the first exception because all andas are mostly hemispherical. Vis-a-vis being this, it is something like this. And therefore, this is the first exception. And why is it an exception? Because it represents a very important moment, which is Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Because Sarnath is where he gave his proper first sermon. This represents his first sermon. And therefore, the Dharma Chakra, and if I had to make a chakra, I make it with the cylinder's head. And therefore, the Dharma Chakra Parivartana, the moment when Buddha got enlightenment, is represented through the Dhamek Stupa. This is the first exception. Stupa or Sachi is the best example. First exception is Dhamek. Thereafter, we have two more stupas, very interesting ones. First is Bharuch Stupa. Bharuch Stupa is important because though it doesn't survive, unfortunately, people have over the centuries used the bricks and destroyed the structure itself. Whatever remains or whatever it is actually in the Calcutta museum, which is the railing and the entrance gate, made again or started again under Ashoka, finished during the Shunga period. Why are the railings and the entrance gate so very, very important? Because they give us a very beautiful carving of the Jatak stories. It had torans on in all four directions. But why is it so important? Because we get the first evidence what is called Yakshana, Yaksha and Yakshi and Naga and Nagi cults. Yaksha, Yaksha and Yakshi. See, this is a Yaksha. This is a Yaksha, Yakshini with a child. This is a cult. This is a cult meaning that it's something which is inbuilt into Buddhism, but is not specific to Buddhism. In Hinduism, there's something called Mithun. Mithun and the concept of Yaksha, Yakshini are quite similar to each other. These are figures of prosperity and auspiciousness. Meaning, you will very simply, cult is meaning that there's a smaller group of gods which have their own following within Buddhism. And Yaksha, Yakshi are not something specific to Buddhism. It's not a religion. It's a small following based concept. In Hinduism, in Jainism, in Buddhism, there are certain figures which represent certain things. For example, if you have the Mithun in the entrance of a house, or if you have a Yaksha, Yakshini in the entrance of the house, they represent auspiciousness and prosperities. Think of them as what we call as sub, or what we call as demigods, or you want to, I'll remove the word cult, I'll write demigods, which are smaller gods. Smaller gods. So very simply, Yaksha, Yakshini, Naga, Nagi. Naga, Nagi, we don't have the picture which was there in Bharut Stupa. But again, I can be very clear in saying that the worship of snake is not specific to Buddhism. Can I say that? Snake worship, is it specific to Buddhism? So again, these are the things where all religions interact. Naga Nagi, which is representation of the snake, and Yaksha Yakshini, which is very simply the representation of auspiciousness and prosperity. Because it's a whole family, it represents auspiciousness and prosperity. This is something. Naga Nagi is snake gods. So very simply, why Bharuch Stupa is important for us? Because it gives us a connection. It gives us a connection between Brahmanical practices and Buddhist practices. That even on Buddhist structures, Vedic gods in a way were represented. Because Yaksha, Yakshini and Naga, Nagi were first seen in Vedic period. And therefore, these are gods which have been appropriated by them and are used as symbolic concepts within Buddhism itself. Last but not the least is Amravati Stupa. Amravati Stupa is very, very important because it's called the Mahachaitya. I'll tell you after the break what a Chaitya means. But the most important reason why it is so celebrated, it is called an ornamental stupa. The stupa does not survive, but the Archaeological Survey of India at that particular, this is a British report which had a very beautiful sketch of the stupa itself, and you can see ornamentation. Ornamentation means decoration, and it was one of the most important stupas because initially it was made out of bricks, but later limestone, which is basically marble, was used to very beautifully represent it. So unfortunately, this stupa does not survive today, but we still have a sketch of it. So before we go to caves and all, I'll give you a break, but let me consolidate what we've done till this point. We have discussed stupas, purpose, structure, concept, and the important ones. Dhemek, Sachi, Sarnath, Barut, anybody has any issue till this point? And we discussed the GS paper 1. Anybody has any issue till this point? Anything you want to discuss, anything you want to say, anything you're not following? Because after this we move to cave architecture. What is Chaitya Vihara and Ajanta Ellora, Nagarjuna, the what we call as Barabar and Nagarjuna Hill complex? We will discuss about Karle. It will become a little bit heavy, but till this point everybody is following me, right? Yes, no, have to say something, please. Have to say something, because I'm covering certain sections in the book. You don't realize how I'm doing it actually. Yes, Amravati Stupa was revived by the Shungas. No, Amravati Stupa is not in the sector of the Shungas. It would be revivalism between, it's locally it is important. No specific dynasty. No specific dynasty. Okay, great, perfect. So if that is the case, let's take a break. I will see you at 1:30 now, and let's take the story forward. Cave, and once cave is done, temple architecture. Very important. Before the break itself, we will do Nagara style for sure. So I will see you at 1:30. See you. Bye. What Harmika symbolizes? Harmika symbolism is like the box in which the relic is. So it's representation of the relic box in that regard. You want calling feature? I am enabling. Chinmay, you want to call? Anybody wants to call and say something? Some students have emailed me, how can UPSC ask a question out of ancient medieval? If UPSC says that the sun comes out from the south and then goes down in the north, anything is, you have to agree with it. This was the only googly which was left. They have tried all combinations, which is art and culture, modern, world, and PI. They have played with this quite a lot. The only googly which was left was ancient and medieval. So now everything is on the table with regards to mains examination. So now, very simply, there's no difference. If you look at this paper, that is why I asked you. There is no difference between a Indian Forest Service paper and Indian and CSE paper, which is Civil Services Examination. Forest Service also, you will get questions out of ancient medieval. That was never the pattern. They have broken a 15-year pattern. To be very precise, 10 years. Since the pattern changed in 2013, 2014, we have never seen a question like that. And next year, they will act like nothing changed or nothing happened also. UPSC will come back to art and culture and modern India. This is what they do. Anybody wants to call? One of you said, please enable the feature. I've enabled it. Yes, no, can we go to cave? Cave architecture. Ancient medieval for the past 10 years is very pure ancient medieval questions always come in the prelims examination. Art and culture questions with mix of ancient medieval has been a standard thing. Tell me one thing, art and culture, does it exist in isolation? Does it exist in isolation? No. So in a way, any art and culture question is a question which is of ancient medieval also. Now what UPSC will argue, I will tell you. If you ask the UPSC why they ask these three questions, first question is location and ancient India. According to them, location is a vague question. That's a geography history question. Second question is Vedic society. So that question they will say it's history and society, which is there. GS paper 2 has social issues. So they will say it is history plus social issues. And the first one is history plus geography. And third one they will say, which is the question related to technology, that is history plus technology. Delhi Sultanate. And isn't technology part of culture? Because if you remember, when I will teach you art and culture, a module is science and technology in ancient and medieval India. It's given in Nitin Singhania also. So they already have their defense. One question is history plus social issues. We asked you about Vedic. That much knowledge a UPSC aspirant should have. We asked you a historical geography question. So that much knowledge a student related to, for example, history and geography should have. And this question is directly out of Nitin Singhania. Are you getting my point? What is the way the UPSC is played this time? They're now mixing topics. What I can make out is that geography and environment has been mixed up. But isn't environment GS paper 3? Environment, pure ecology environment is GS paper 3. But this time geography questions have environment component in them. So that is also something which they're doing. UPSC is now running out of ideas. So that is why they're starting to do this, what we call as make it a khichdi, whatever you can do, to just put the student out of their comfort zone in that regard. Yes. Can we go to cave architecture? Somehow everybody's become very silent. And that is why that is why I'm always stressing on concepts in ancient and medieval. So that questions actually don't seem vague. There's no need for, yeah, see, I am no one to justify. But very simply, the point is that it's not about justification, it's about thought process. See, UPSC thought process needs to be understood. One pair, two pair, three pair, four pair they did. Now, this time with this, what happens is now a student cannot for sure leave ancient medieval because they're playing with the concept itself. So it's about decoding the thought process of UPSC, because further you go, they will play a bigger game in that regard. So this is a decoding their understanding. I always teach concepts and facts. If you look at it, I teach more concepts and facts, but that's a separate issue altogether. It's about understanding UPSC's mindset. Okay, now let's talk about cave architecture. And as it is, you tell me who has the power to ask UPSC, why did you ask this question? If they will ask a question on Chinese GDP also, we will have to answer it. That is the way UPSC is. Okay. They will say that write the examination on one leg. You have to write the examination on one leg. That is the way it is. Okay. Now, since the beginning of architecture, we have discussed Indus Valley civilization. Thereafter, we have discussed Mauryan pillars. Then we discussed stupa. So in a way, I'm moving from Indus Valley to Maurya to post-Maurya. And now the way post-Mauryan architecture expressed itself was one stupa, and the second one is cave architecture. What do I mean by cave architecture? These are natural caves or man-made which have Buddhist or religious significance. But in most cases, they are man-made caves. They were not originally there. So natural caves are less likely. Mostly man-made caves. Man-mades are the most common. But there can be, as I said, exceptions. But man-made is the most common. Mostly Buddhist, but also have their own religious significance. So we can remove this word Buddhist also, or which have religious significance, because I will show you there are multiple combinations in which we have found caves. Now, before I talk about caves, I have to discuss two very important terms with you: Vihara and Chaitya. Vihara and Chaitya. These are two words which you will see in the examination quite a lot of times in different contexts in that regard. Vihara is it's not very specific to Buddhism. Chaitya is a word which is specific to Buddhism. Vihar you will find everywhere. Let's talk about Chaitya. Chaitya is a word which is used for a worshipping complex or a shrine of Buddhism carved out in caves. Viharas are nothing but residential complex of monks or is the monastery. A modern day example of this is going to be shrine means, no, I don't want to use the term temple, it's a worshipping place. Wherever you worship is a shrine. So a modern day example of it would be very simple, which is that this is, for example, like the school, and this is like the hostel, or this is like the temple, and this is the dharamshala. Viharas you will find of different religions. You will find of Brahmanism also. You will find for Brahmin monks. You will find for Buddhist monks. You will find for Jain monks. This you will find in all religions. But Chaityas are specific to Buddhism. Why are they specific to Buddhism? Use your logic. Why are they specific to Buddhism? Why are Chaityas specific to Buddhism? Come on, tell me. Use your understanding. Why is that Chaityas only exist in Buddhism? Okay, very simply. Where do we worship our gods in Hinduism? Temples. And have you seen Jain temples? So very simply, Jains have temples and Hindus have temples, but Buddhists only have Chaitya or stupas. So our Chaitya is nothing but temple. Are you getting my point? Viharas can be made for anybody, which is monks' living place. However, Chaitya is something which is specific to Buddhism because Buddhist worshipping place is called Chaitya. We don't make temples inside caves or inside what we call as mountains. We have proper freestanding temples which will be developed later. So understand this point that temples and chaityas are the same thing, but temples are proper structure which is made separately. Chaitya is a very specific word which is used for a shrine or a worshipping place where they meditate. Now, as I said, Chaitya Vihara have a relationship. There could be two types of combinations. You could have a Chaitya hall, and then you could have a Vihara attached to it, which is that this is the Vihara complex and this is the Chaitya complex. That the monks get up and they go to the Chaitya, they worship, and then they come back to the Vihara. There is one combination like this. There could also be a Chaitya which is there in some place other than the Vihara, and the Vihara could be somewhere else. So Chaitya can be attached to a Vihara, or a Vihara can be attached to a Chaitya, but could be different also. In this case, then the monks would have to walk towards the Chaitya, worship, and then go back to the residential complex. This is a concept of Chaitya Vihara. Chaitya is the shrine, Vihara is the residence. Do we understand the difference between these two words? Chaitya Vihara. A Buddhist shrine or prayer hall with a stupa in the end, this I will discuss with you. For congregation and worship is for monks is a Chaitya. Chaitya mostly part of a bigger monastic establishment. Beautiful Chaityas we will discuss, Ajanta, Ellora and all. Vihara is a dwelling place of monks carved out of rocks or could be a man-made what we call as cave also. Chaityas can be and cannot be attached to a Vihara. So you have first case in which it is an attached concept, and in the second case it is non-attached. Anybody has any issue in this? Chaitya, Vihara, attached, non-attached? Because then I will discuss three types of Chaityas with also. Three types of Chaityas are also there. Are we clear with regards to this? Yes. What is a Chaitya? What is a Vihara? Chaitya school, Vihara hostel. Yes, that is the basic concept. Chaitya is the place where you meditate, and Vihara is where you sleep. Okay. Now there are three types of Chaityas can also be there. So there is one Chaitya. This is one Chaitya in which you have a stupa. This could be a stone stupa. There can be one more type of Chaitya in which you enter, you see the stupa, and then you also see one more thing, which is an idol of Buddha is in front of it. This is idol of Buddha and stupa. And there could be a Chaitya which has no stupa. 1, 2, 3. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between 1 and 2? What is the difference between 1 and 2? Idol, sure. But what is the major difference between 1 and 2? Use your knowledge of Buddhism. Very good, Samishta. Very good. Hardeep, very good. Very good. Perfect. See, yes, Neha, great. Anybody else wants to type? 3 people have got it. Very good. Perfect. See, this is Hinayanic. This is Mahayanic. This is early Buddhism. So very simply, these two can be Hinayanic. These two can be Hinayanic and Hinayanic. But Mahayanics are always having the idols of Buddha. So very simply, this is a Chaitya. This is a Vihara. You can see that there are rooms in which they can go and sleep. If you look at it, the plan is like this. This is the most famous Karle Chaitya where they sit. Can anybody tell me, is this a Hinayanic Chaitya or a Mahayanic Chaitya? Very good. There is no idol. So either it is early Buddhism or Hinayanic. When did the split between Hinayana and Mahayana happen? Very good. Tunic Kanishka, 4th Buddhist Council. So, which means that either it was made between 1 and 3rd, or when if it was made after 4th, then it was Hinayanic. So, very simply, the way we make it, and this is an example of a Mahayanic Chaitya. Can you see the difference? There is a very big idol of Buddha. The stupa is also here, but the idol of Buddha is here. So Buddha is represented in idol form, and a contrast of this would be this. Now you see one more thing. The stupa was a pilgrimage site. The stupa was an advertisement. But what is the purpose of stupa here? What is the purpose of stupa here? Stupa represents what? Stupa represents what? Buddha. Very good. So now we know 3 purposes of stupa. Stupa in itself represents Buddha. In caves, it represents Buddha. it represents pilgrimage site, it also represents burial mound, and it also is an advertisement. So when a stupa is placed within a chaitya, it is to represent Buddha, but not in alive form, but dead form. And if a stupa is created as a structure, it represents burial mound, it represents Buddha as a pilgrimage site, and the point of the matter is it also represents as an advertisement. Are you getting the point? What is the purpose of Buddha? Yes? Very good. Very, 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 very good. Very good. Okay. So now let's transition to the caves which we need to understand. In the caves which we need to understand. And thereafter, we will make a very important box which is going to be very, very important for you, and that will help you in the examination generally in answering any type of question. Any type of question can be answered through that box. Are we ready? Can we do that? Everybody is following me. These things are given in very confusing way in Nitin Singhania. I'll bring Nitin Singhania in front of you also. It is very messed up, very somehow he says that the relic is under, above, inside. He messes up these things. Okay. Now, and there are 3-4 mistakes also which I will point out in Nitin Singhania when we reach there. Okay. Now, the most celebrated caves in India are two, but the oldest of them is the Ajanta caves in Maharashtra. Ajanta caves are all Buddhist caves. All Buddhist caves. However, when people talk about Ajanta, they forget that this is not the oldest. It is not the oldest. The oldest cave complex in India is actually the Barabar and Nagarjuni Hill complex in Bihar. They are the oldest man-made cave complex. And ironically, it was not given to the Buddhists, but Ashoka and his grandson, Dashrath and Ashoka, gave it to the Ajiviks. The Ajiviks. In India, there is only one cave complex which has been dedicated to the Ajiviks, and that is Barabar and Nagarjuni Hill complex. This is the first time that we see that proper caves were given, and 4 major caves are there: Sudama, Karan Chopara, Vishwa Jhopadi, Loma Sisi. Now, first, I want you to appreciate the effort, which is that this is not a natural cave. These are man-made caves, which means that this was made by somebody by using a hammer and a chisel and carving the whole mountain out to create it. This is not a joke. With no modern drilling machines, with no modern excavation, with no modern excavators, with no electricity, nothing. This was done with sheer manpower and time. Once Ashoka said that I want a cave to be created inside a rock, they used the Barabar Nagarjuni Hill complex because the rock supported it, which is that it was not too hard or too soft. Because if it is too hard, it will break, in the sense that it will not be able to take too much carving. And if it is too soft, it will not hold it the way this whole ceiling is holding. This ceiling is holding because of 2 reasons. It is not very hard, that on hitting it, it splits up, and it is not too soft that it is not able to take the weight of the rock itself. Choosing something like this without any form of chemistry, understanding of geology, understanding of rocks is a marvel in itself. What they represent are engineering marvels which were made in periods when no form of modern sciences existed. So to make this somewhere basically close to 2600, let's take 3000 years ago, this is not a joke. And Ashoka made it as what is called donative caves. If you notice the name of the caves, they're named after the monk who was given this cave. This was given to Sudama. This is Karan Chopara. This is Vishwa Jhopadi, which is Vishwa, and Loma Shisi. Now, what is the distinction, or what is a very interesting thing about the whole Barabar Nagarjuni Hill complex? This is the Barabar, this is the Nagarjuni Hill. There are 4 A, B, C, D, 4 caves here and 3 caves here. What is interesting about them is that most of them, except for one, are bare, plain, totally plain. They have nothing. They have no decoration. You can see no decoration. Here also no decoration. There's only one, which is the Loma Shisi. This is Loma Shisi. Loma Shisi cave has no internal carvings or decoration, but has what is called ornamentation on the entrance. Whenever I will use the word ornamentation, it means decoration. So you see, from the outside, you have a very beautiful ornamental gate which has been made with whatever skill they had. But from inside, it is plain. No ornamentation. No ornamentation. So very simply, let's summarize the first and the most important hill complex in India, which is the, and please note this, Ashoka did visit this. Ashoka created it. He would have given it himself. These are not natural caves. How natural caves get created? That is geomorphological denudation, proper erosional process. This is not that. This is man-made. From erosions, you get caves. That's a geography question. What I'm telling you is a man-made cave. That is a cultural question. So, the oldest man-made cave complex, which was donated to monks, that is Barabar and Nagarjuni Hill complex, and given to Ajiviks by Ashoka and Dashrath, all but one, Lomash Rishi, are devoid of ornamentation. Lomash Rishi cave has decorated entrance. Right? Feature second point is absence of ornamentation. When there is ornamentation outside, see Devi, out of these four, these four have no ornamentation. and this one is the exception. Exception. Get it? Right? So Karan Chopara, Sodama Cave, Vishwa Chopara, Chopadi. You understand that on in your villages you have choparas on which people sit, which is people sit and talk about. Old people like to do that. Go to the village center and sit on that circular things which are there. Karan, that is called chopara. So they sit and discuss. So Karan Chopara, Sudama Cave, Jhopadi, you understand, Vishwa Jhopadi, Loma Sisi. It's not very difficult. Just understand these are the odd one out. Four of them Ajiviks. Anybody has any issue with the information which is given here on the screen? Can you remember this much? There is no rule, circular or cylindrical, doesn't really matter. Anybody has any issue till this point? No? Yes? Anything? All are Ajiviks. These are the name of Ajivik saints. These are the name of Ajivik saints. Okay, now. After that, you have Ajanta. But Ajanta has a very important thing. It is the oldest Buddhist caves in India. All Buddhist caves in India. There are 29 caves here. 28 are actually made. One was half built. And last slide. This is the last slide. Yes. Oldest man-made cave complex. This is oldest Buddhist cave complex. 29 caves are there. And Ajanta is made in a very interesting way. Ajanta is made in the gorge of a river called Voghera. Voghera river, very simply, is the base around which you have the 29 caves. 28 built, one incomplete. So in some places you will find 28, some places you will find 29. Doesn't really matter. But if you look at the way it is made, the river goes from in the bottom, and the caves have been made into the gorge. Do you understand what is the gorge? Do you understand what is the gorge? Properly geography question. You understand a gorge? That when a river is following a standard route over a period of time, it will start to cut down the mountain if it has what we call as rocks which are not very, very hard. So when a river starts to vertically cut down a, what we call as mountain to create a path that is called a gorge. For example, the Grand Canyon in America is the best example of gorges. The whole river has cut down the whole structure. Same way we have the Voghera River. Voghera River goes in a U-shaped pattern around the Vindhya Satpura range, and when it is going in that pattern, it cut downs and creates a wall like this. It creates a wall like this. Very deep gorge it is. You can see this is the high point and the low point is very, very low. So very simply, it cut down the mountain in a vertical fashion. And this rock is considered very, very good because it is, again, as I said, not too hard and not too soft. And the Ajanta caves, who made the Ajanta caves? You know the answer to that already. Who was the one who properly made all the Ajanta caves? Who's that person? You know that already. Avakataka. What is the name of that Vakataka? Prabhu, I haven't, and I accept your invitation. If I do come there, I will. I want to see Ajanta. I've never been to Ajanta. One of the biggest marvels in that regard. Who is the Vakataka ruler who made the Ajanta caves? Very good. Harisena, Vishal, very good. Harisena, if you remember, this site was chosen by the Satavahanas, but it is Harisena, written like this also and written like this also, who very simply built these caves for the Buddhists. Now, as I said, both Vihara and Chaityas are there, but obviously Viharas are more because the sleeping areas, the monastic areas is more, and there are only 4 Chaityas. You don't have to learn it. What are the cave numbers? That is 10, 9, 12, 13. I'm not giving you that because that is optional level, and even PCS level, we don't have to go into that much detail. But what is more important for you is that out of the 29 caves, 24 are Mahayanic, 4 are Hinayanic, 1 is early Buddhism. Early Buddhism. And when I will be teaching you paintings, I will tell you that the Ajanta paintings are one of the best in the world, which is Bodhisattva, Padampani, thereafter Manjushri and Vajrapani. All 3 are represented in the walls of Ajanta. So right now, the purpose of teaching you Ajanta is not to show you the paintings. That's a separate discussion altogether. Right now, it is just to tell you what is the religion. Now, the very standard question should be very fascinating, sir, very good, perfect. But how do I clear the examination? And the answer is, why are we doing this? We are doing this because there are 3 type of questions which can be asked. First, who built Ajanta? You know that. Second, there can be a match the following question or a statement based question where they can play with only 2 things. Ajanta's location, which was asked in the examination, Voghera, or Ajanta's religion. Ajanta's religion, which is that which religion is Ajanta related to, right? Too early Buddhism makes no, not too early Buddhism. 1 early Buddhist and 24 Mahayanic, 4 Hinayanic, that makes it 29. And out of all of that, 25 are Viharas, 24 are Chaityas. So, simple point. This is you seeing at 1, 1, 1. Which one is early Buddhist? The cave number, I think 6 or 7 is early Buddhist. Either one of them, 6 or 7, most probably 6. But the most important caves are actually 19, 26 and 11. That I will discuss with you. Because 26 has the image of Bodhisattva Padampani, and it also has the image of the Mahaparinibbana of Buddha, which is the sleeping Buddha when he dies. So we'll discuss that. Now, I'm going to make a Venn diagram. Though you should have made this Venn diagram, but I think I'm in a good mood today. So I'll make it for you. This Venn diagram shows you, because this is a process of making notes. This is how you condense data in art and culture. So I will very simply make 3 let me make them in same size at least. Okay. I'll make 3 Venns. This is Buddhism. This is Jainism. And this is Hinduism. I will write Ajanta here. This means that what is the religion of Ajanta? What is the religion of Ajanta? Buddhism. Now comes the most important cave complex, which is also in Maharashtra. and represents and is the, you can say, the poster boy or the best example of tolerance in India, and that is Ellora. That is Ellora. This area, which is the intersection of all three, is Ellora. Ellora has the distinction of having Buddhist, Jain, and Hindu caves and temples together. And this is a distinction about ancient India which nobody knows about, which is that we have the most tolerant culture at this point of time. Ellora, which is just next to Ajanta in its location, is the only site in India in the Aurangabad district of Ellora of Maharashtra itself, which has 32 Buddhist, Brahmanical, and Jain caves. All three religions are seen here. All three are seen to be competing with each other, but also learning from each other. And cave number 12, which will again I will show you in the painting part, has paintings of the most interesting and most important bodhisattvas, Tara, Avalokeshwar, Manjushri, and also has images of other demigods or semi-gods in what we call as Buddhism. Do not learn this, do not learn. But very simply, Ellora is also the home of the only rock cut temple in Maharashtra sector made by a person called Krishnavan. Krishnavan would be which dynasty? Guess. Krishna, very good, very good. Samishta, using the thumb rule. Rashtrakuta. Rashtrakuta, that is called the Kailash temple or the Kailashnath temple. It is a specimen of what we call as Vesara style. And when I will teach you temple architecture by the end of the day, I will show it to you also. But this is at Ellora. I removed the word only because you will start to overthink about it. Rock cut temple in Ellora, and it's not just in Maharashtra. The only you will generalize it for India, then you will start to mess up the questions. So rock cut temple in Ellora, Krishna one made it, and very simply, it is the same place where we find a Hindu, a Buddhist, and a Jain temple. So, do you understand how I am condensing the data? This whole, see, I could have easily told you, go and read the important caves. But I'm doing it with you in class because I'm trying to show you how to condense Nitin Singhania. Nitin Singhania gives a lot of information. You need to know how to use it and condense it. By the end of the time we do the what we call as cave architecture, you will be rather in a better position to know how to condense it. Kailashnath temple, I am telling you because it is a temple which has been made at a place where already Buddhist and Jain monks used to live. And that would be unimaginable in 2023 or in colonial or modern India, where tolerance could be shown in shrines of the same place being constructed together and being made together in that regard. After PPT, Nitin Singhania is for learning. It cannot be ignored in that. I'll tell you, is for revision. I'll tell you what to do with regards to Nitin Singhania. Are we clear with regards to Ajanta, Ellora, and what do we need to do with this information? Can I move forward and complete this Venn diagram? You will then realize why it is important. I hope you all are on the same page. Nobody is going to ask you to write a short note on Ellora or Ajanta. They will rather play with the religion and ask you a prelims question out of this area because it is more difficult in that ways. Okay. So we have Ajanta, which is only Buddhist. We have Ellora, which is Buddhist, Jain, and Hindu, or what we call as Brahmanical. Now, after Ellora, we have one of the most beautiful Shiva caves in India, which is Elephanta. If you live in Mumbai, if you live in and around Mumbai, you can take a small boat from the Gateway of India and they will take you to a small island which is called Garapuri. Garapuri has the only Shaivite caves which were made by the Rashtrakutas, and it has one of the most beautiful representations of Shiva, which is called Mahesh Murti, and it is the three-headed Shiva. Three-headed Shiva, its location, a different universe itself. The way it has been made with utmost care and very, very good skill work. The Mahesh Murti is part of a much bigger complex of sculptures around him, which tell the story of Shiva and Lord Shiva's story. But Mahesh Murti, we have never seen the three-headed Shiva anywhere else. Vis-a-vis, basically representing the linga. When you look at it as one whole, it is representing the lingam or linga. Therefore, the Elephanta caves in our story come here. Elephanta, right? Thereafter, Mahesh Murti have to remember because that can be asked in the examination. Then come the Udayagiri Khanderi caves. These caves have a distinction that they are only Jain caves. Only Jain caves. 35 caves made by one of the most celebrated Jain king, Karavela. And it has viharas. And because they don't need chaityas, they are only a monastic establishment. So, monastic establishment. There are two very interesting caves. One is called Rani Gufa and Hathi Gufa. Hathi Gufa cave has an inscription, and that has a lot of information about Karavela. That is why it is very, very important. And Rani Gufa cave is two-story. Within the cave itself, they made two stories. So, in our purpose of the examination, this is Udayagiri Khandiri caves. I am not making a table, rather this is better. If you make a table, it will become too much to manage it. This shows you intersection. This shows you intersection. This is what they will play with regards to Udayagiri Khanderi. Now, the most celebrated and always quoted Karle. Karle is Buddhist. But why is Karle important is because of the cave number 8. Karle has what is called a vaulted roof, which is this ribbing which you see, which is also called the gun barrel roof. This is called ribbing or vaulting. This is what you see. Vaulted roof we have never seen anywhere else, and Karle is known for that. Karle is known for that. So you have Karle. I'll write their most important feature here also. Hathi Gufa inscription. Mahesh Murti vaulted roof. Right. Now, last three. The Thalkora, which is again Buddhist. Junar, again Buddhist, but considered the largest cave complex in India. Both Vihara and Chaityas are there. But here there's a very interesting distinction. that one of the caves also has an attached Hindu cave. So now, if I write Pithalkora here, now very interestingly, Junar comes here, which is that we have our first interesting combination, which is Brahmanical plus Buddhism. Ellora is an intersection of all three, but Brahmanical plus Buddhism, we have Junar. And very interestingly, we have one more combination you will see, which is at the Bagh caves. Then you have Pandavleni. Again, Pandavleni, this came in the examination. 22 caves, all Buddhist. So we'll add it here. Pandavleni or Nasik caves. But the interesting combination is this one, Badami. Made by the Chalukyas, Hindu plus Jain. Hindu plus Jain. Badami. So, why is it important? Because here we have 3 caves which are Hindu. We have Nataraja sculpture, we have Lord Vishnu, and we also have other important gods or the avatars of Lord Vishnu. But the 4th cave is Bahubali. Bahubali and Parsavnath, other Tirthankaras. Bahubali, Parsavnath, and Mahavira. The important, what we call as Tirthankaras, are represented in cave number 4. Now, if you look at it, this is what we have to do for caves. We move to temple architecture after this. But if you look at it, if you look at this, what is the noticeable point here? What is the noticeable point here? Can you tell me the analysis of this Venn diagram? Analysis of this Venn diagram. Yes, tolerance. Yes. But there's also one very interesting thing. Yes, very good, Hardeep. Very good, Hardeep. Which is that, yes, Avni, very good. And Samishta, very good. See, somehow Jains and Buddhists did not go well together. Because if it is Jain and Buddhist, then Hindu is also there. But there's no combination in which Jain and Buddhist are together. This is an interesting point, and UPSC can now ask you a question that whilst there is tolerance, there is also competition. And Jainism and Buddhism were competing with each other to replace in a way or take away people away from Brahmanism. And therefore, they never went together. So, very simply, Junar, Badami, Ellora. 3 very important words for you. Junar is Buddhist plus Hindu, BH. Then you have Badami, which is JH, which is Jainism and Hinduism. Ellora is all 3, JHB or BHJ, whatever you want to call it. And Ajanta, Karle, Pitholkara, and Nasik, which means these are the most, and this only implies that Buddhists were very popular. Buddhists were very popular because they have their own cave complexes, and a lot of money was needed to create cave complexes. All of this is dated mostly to post-Mauryan period. Mostly dated to post-Mauryan period. Now tell me one thing. I showed you these slides. And now I've made a Venn diagram in front of you. What is easier to learn? The slide or the Venn diagram? When this is called effective notes making. I've literally showed you how to make notes. This is how you condense data. This is called condensation. I've taken a lot of words, but I've now condensed it to one slide, which is of purpose to you. So 2 things I did with you. I could have easily, as I said, given you this list. Two things. First, all questions which can be asked from this area are on this one slide. Second, I've showed you how to make notes because a lot of students ask me how to make notes. Are these 2 points clear? Then I would like to introduce temple architecture to you. Yes, no, come on. Yes? Is this making sense? Now, is it seeming this still heavy? Because this is heavy area. Cave architecture, if you look in the 92 pages chapter of Nitin Singhania, it's a very heavy section. I hope now this gives you clarity how to manage with the data which has been given to you or the basic facts which have been given to you. Everything can be condensed, and that will help you for the examination, for effective learning, for effective revision. Right? Okay. Now let's talk about temple architecture. Now, before we do that, I want to do an exercise with you. Can I do an exercise with you? Do you have pen and paper in front of you, please? Yes, no, thumbs up, anything will work. Pen and paper in front of you. I'm going to show a magic trick. If students have been with me previously, they know the magic trick. There's a magic trick I'm going to do, which is called mind reading. Sitting here in Bangalore, I will be able to read your mind, and I will be able to do something which is literally magical. Okay. Now, if you have your pen and paper with you, make a temple. Make a temple, and I will make a temple, and you will realize something that I've actually predicted what you've made. Make a temple. Whatever comes to your mind. As soon as I say temple, make a temple. Make a temple. Once done, tell me. Because then I will do mind reading live on this platform. Come on. Once the temple has been made on the sheet of paper, tell me. Done? And this is a very important activity we are doing. Okay, done. Very good. Now, if I look at the sheets which you all have, you would have made, out of these three, you would have made one for sure. Some of you would have made something like this. If not this, then you would have made something like this. And some artistic people would have made something like this, which is a side-on profile. Either A, B, or C with different modifications. You can tell me which one you've made. You would have made either A, B, or C, which is clustered shikhars or single shikhar, or you would have made a side profile. People are saying A, C, A. Right? So, this is the magic that somehow we all have the same image in our mind. Somehow we all have the same image in the mind. Now, the question is how? The question is how? See, when you do architecture, temple architecture is considered a very important theme, and students tend to complicate it too much. But what I want to tell you is that somehow you already know everything. You just don't know it. You just don't know it. See, because we have temples around us. We have seen temples in movies. We see temples in serials, in soap operas. We consume this data, this information every day, and we've never systematized it. You never systematized it. For example, in every climax scene in Hindi movies, in Bollywood, there would be something very good which is going to be happening. Very good, perfect moment. And the mother of the hero will be going to the temple to give prasadam or something to the priest. But when she would be going back, something bad is going to happen, which is that a certain villain will just give a small tap to the mother of the hero, and she will go falling down the stairs of the temple and straight into the road where a truck will come and hit her. Seems familiar? We all have seen this scene somewhere for sure. Somebody is going down some stairs, somebody is getting hit in front of a temple. That will be the motivation for the hero to now fight with the villain itself. What I mean to say is that if it was a Dravida temple, it would never have happened. The temple which I've described to you, and invariably which you know, is a Nagara temple. Nagara temples don't have boundary walls and don't have a gateway. That is why she says straight away goes rolling into the road itself. You'd have seen a very iconic scene in which the hero goes from side to side, holding the temple bells and then asking questions to God. Amitabh Bachchan. Seen that scene ever in your life? If not the scene, you've seen the meme for sure. Has anybody seen that scene? Yes, very good. Now, very simply, that is only possible in a certain type of temple. But yes, Diwar movie, but basically, that is the mandap. You know what a mandap is, which is an open congregation hall, but you don't know the term. What I'm trying to argue here is that the temple which you made, be it A, B, or C, Nagara style temple is because of popular imagination in your mind already. Sometimes we know it, but we don't know the terminology. So we'll build on it. Why am I saying this? Not just to lighten the mood or randomly talk about movies. See, a UPSC aspirant breathes, lives, eats, and sleeps like UPSC. That everything around you can be of relevance in the examination. One year, UPSC randomly asked a question on BEE, the star rating which you see on TV, fridges, and they ask you what was the meaning of that. No book, no teacher can actually teach you that. It is about observation. Same way they randomly asked one year about OLED panels and LCD panels. We, whenever go and buy a mobile, we ask, is it an OLED screen or an LCD screen? This is called application of knowledge. What I mean to say is, when I will teach you temple architecture, you will do two things. First, you will try to analyze what you have already seen in the picture and understanding of what I'm teaching you right now. And second is, next time when you go to the temple, try to look for them, because you will find them for sure. And that ways, your revision is in front of you. What I mean to say is, every movie, every soap opera, every temple, every road which you cross in India, you have a temple architecture revision module in front of you. Agreed? Can you do this? Which is, in a way, inculcate this eye, which is called a historian's eyesight, historian's vision, to analyze your surroundings in a certain way. Architecture, be it temple architecture, or be it Delhi Sultanate, or be it Mughal architecture, I will teach you how to read them. More than that, next time when you go with your parents or your friends, show off the knowledge that this is an Amlaka, this is a Kalasha, this is Garbhagriha, this is clusterized Garbhagriha Shikhara. You understand there's no gateway. Understand this. This is this. Show them. They will also feel nice. And more than that, you'll get some time with your relatives also. They will like, हाँ, बच्चा तो तेज है. Okay. Can I now first tell you the first basic? What are the basic components of a temple? Because the 5-stage development will do after the lunch break. That needs a little bit of time is needed. Can we discuss? Are you getting my point? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? Can we discuss the basic components of a temple? Yes? Okay. Now, a very budding question which would be in your mind is, when did temples emerge in India? Temples are a very Gupta, post-Gupta thing. Which is that, see, if you look at the time period of temples, earliest temples will emerge in the Gupta period. Can anybody tell me why is that in the Gupta period you get more temples, or cultural development with regards to temples is linked to the Gupta period? Why more? What is the reason for that? What is the reason? Yes, very good, Hardeep. Great. Which is the revivalism of Hinduism as Puranic Hinduism, Bhagavatism, Dashavatar concept, and because it is in the Gupta period where Brahmanism is able to break Buddhism, wherein the patronage comes to Hinduism, and now temple building activities become very, very what we call as popular and common across India. So the timing is in a way intersecting with the Guptas in that sense. Now, there are early temples in India. Two types are there. One are called rock cut, and the other one are called structural. These are two words which you will always encounter. Rock cut is monolithic temples, which means that they have been cut out of one rock. Best example I've already told you, Kailashnath temple. Structural temples are nothing but brick temples. Brick temples you've seen, standard temples are made out of bricks, brick temple. We'll come to this list later because I need to put them into stages in that regard. But now the discussion I want to do with you is the basic components of a temple. And this is a generic question. I'm not talking about North, I'm not talking about South, I'm not talking about Deccan, I'm just talking about standard components of a temple. This is not North, this is South, this is every temple would have it for sure. I'll make a 3D image, then I will make a 2D image, and you should be ready to make that 2D image in the examination. So, Right. Now, see, the first most important component is called the Garbha Griha. It's called the Garbh Griha, or what we call as Sanctum Sanctorum, which is where the God is. Basically, the God is placed inside the Sanctum Sanctorum. Thereafter, you have what we call as the Shikhara, which is called the curvy linear tower. Then you have the Amlaka, which is the base of Kalash and top of Shikhar. And then you have the Kalasha. Kalasha is a word which you would have used in pujas quite a lot. Kalash, it is again to represent what we call as auspiciousness. To give you a more bird's eye view of this, or rather a more detailed view of this, it will be something like this. You would have seen it again for sure in your life. Everybody would have seen it once for sure. It is something like this. Something like this. This is the Amlaka and this is the Kalsha. The base of it is called Amlaka, the upper of thing is called Kalsha. Then you have platform. It's called raised platform. This is the reason why the woman dies by going down the stairs itself. Then you have the mandapa, and the starting or the initial part of the mandap is called the ardha mandapa. Ardha mandapa is basically the entrance. This is the congregation hall. And together this is a generic temple. This is a generic temple with its 7 components. I'm not using the word antartala. I'm not using the word, for example, pitha and all, because that is this exact temple. In Nagara style, the terminologies will change a little bit. But in a way, the basic, this is exactly the same as Nagara. But right now, you cannot write pitha or antartal or these words, because I'm telling you what are the basic components of a temple. Because you will find a Garbhagriha, you will find a Amalaka, Shikhar, you will find Mandapa, Ardha Mandapa in South Indian temples and Vesara also. This is the question with regards to basic generic components of a temple. Does anybody have any issue in understanding any of these terms, or basically how they are placed? If not, then I will show it to you in 2D and you will make it for the examination, because that can come in the examination generally, which is a 2D image of the same for the purpose of the exam. Anybody has any issue? No? Okay. So, how do you make it? Very straightforward, very simple. Make a big rectangle, divided into 2 parts. Small rectangle on the base, triangle, 1 square, triangle, circle, Cylinder. Simple. Garbhagriha, platform, mandapa, ardhamandapa, shikhara, amlaka, kalsha. Can you make it? Last thing before we go for a break. Now I'm removing it off the screen. Make it. Once done, tell me. Only squares and rectangles and triangles. Nothing big, nothing small. Again, make it. Come on. You see this? This 3D, 2D. Why am I making you do this as a part of, in a way, revision? Because if you make it in front of me, you will most probably remember it by making it itself. Done? Okay. So Mauryan pillar, Indus Valley civilization, stupa, chaitya, vihara, temple basic. Anybody has any issue? We'll not go ahead from this point because within 10 minutes you can't do 5 stages. For that we'll come back at 3:40. But right now I want to use this 10 minutes for any doubts. If there's any doubt, anybody wants to call, anybody wants to ask anything, please feel free to do that. This is Mauryan pillars, Indus Valley civilization, stupa, the concept of chaitya, vihara and caves, and temple architecture. See, I go here in a very slow fashion because if you will understand it, you will never have to learn it. So anybody has any issue in any of these themes, feel free to call. I have enabled the feature itself. And if somebody wants to very simply ask a certain question, nothing, something you want me to repeat, if you don't have any of these questions, you can in a way leave this section or leave this session, and I will see you at 3:40. You can go for lunch if you don't have a question. If you don't have a question. Okay. How Hinayanic and early Buddhist caves are different. Himanshu, see, in a way, there is no difference. It's about when they have constructed it. If it was created before the fourth Buddhist council, it will be called an early Buddhist temple because there is no difference between a Mahayanic and Hinayanic. There is only Buddhism, Mahasangika. However, once it is made after a point, for example, fourth Buddhist council after post-modern period, then it is Hinayanic. It could have a stupa, it could not have a stupa. Mostly they used to have a stupa. So the major differentiating point could be no stupa and stupa, but that is not a set plan. The simple point of the matter is it is based on a certain pattern. Mahayanic and Hinayanic is very straightforward, but these two, it's about the time of construction. And all caves have inscriptions which tell us when they were made, so we can make that distinction also. But you don't have to go into that much detail. Not even in for optional level, you have to know that. Okay. Anyone else? Call or anything else? Question? If you don't have a question, you can go and start your lunch. I will see you at 3:40. Don't have to hang around. Use your time better. I'm here for the questions. If you don't have a question, we will meet at 3:40 straight. If you have a question about today's questions, also you can ask me. No issues. If you want to discuss about GS paper, because after this next session is going to be intense. 340 to 540 is going to be very important for you. We'll discuss 5 stages: Nagara style, Nagara, then Udisa, Khajuraho, and Solanki, plus Latina, Famsana, and Valabhi, then Dravida, then Vesara, and end temple architecture. And thereafter, we'll move to Delhi Sultanate, the Arch Dome. Now we are going to the business area of the architecture section. No question? Anybody? No. Prabhu has called. Let's call Prabhu back. Prabhu, I'm calling you, not picking up. Call cancelled. Prabhu cancelled the call. No? Okay. Prabhu, you checking the feature? Sure, why not? Right. So I will see you at 3:40 now. Go have a good lunch. See you at 3:40. Part B, please join. This will end now. Thank you, and I'll see you at 3:40.